Here, we'll look at some of the options that are available to you when starting a class and also how to schedule class sessions. When you click the Start Class dialog box, you're presented with these options. Your class length in minutes you can change, or you can set the end time and it will adjust the minutes accordingly. Enforce Custom Block List, the custom list that you created from the web links area enforceable during class. Sometimes administrators will enable an option that will also enable you to choose to enforce or not enforce an organizational-wide block list. Now, this is not the same as your school's content filter. This is a custom list directly within the Securely Classroom product, and sometimes they enable an option that allows you to choose whether or not to enforce that. The next option is Close All Open Tabs when class starts. And you'll notice when I click it, I get an option of a warning or a countdown. So when the session starts, all the existing tabs that a student has open will close. Sometimes this is done just to start class fresh with no clutter on the screen. But another reason to use this, and probably more practical, is this. When a student comes into your class, if they already have a bunch of tabs open, those tabs will not automatically be closed if they're on your custom block list. So that means the student can continue to access those tabs until they're closed. Once the tab is closed, they can't access it again when it's on your block list. That's because the block list can only take effect for newly opened sites. So if you want to make sure there are no sites open when the student comes in, because they might be on your block list, then you can use this option. But suddenly having all of the tabs closed on a student device can be a pretty jarring experience for the student, particularly if they're in the middle of doing something. So this countdown warning at least gives them an option to know that that's going to happen if they're in the middle of something that has to be saved, or they just need to remember that tab. It does give them a countdown warning, and then they can work for that number of seconds before all of the tabs close. The next option, Limit Max Tabs, allows you to choose a certain number of tabs that the students can't open beyond the number that is set here. So sometimes, particularly at lower grades, again to avoid distractions, we've had teachers request that they only want one tab to be opened. That also allows monitoring to be a little bit easier. You don't need the tab view, you can use the thumbnail view, and you know that they can't be on any other tabs because they're limited to just one. Of course, that does reduce the functionality and usability of using the browser, so that should be used with caution. It could create a frustrating experience for students, particularly in doing a research project where they need multiple tabs open. The next option allows you to choose whether or not students have the hand raise option available to them. And that's available when they click the extension icon on the top of their browser. They can choose raise hand, and it shows that glowing hand icon in the teacher console here in Device Console. The next option is for choosing whether or not you want to allow students to initiate a chat. Teachers are always able to initiate a chat with a student, but this allows the student the option of starting the chat with the teacher. And again, all of the chat history is recorded and saved, and this can be enabled or disabled for any given class at the time that you start the class. Students can never chat with each other, so the chat is always only between teachers and students. And then the last option is play the chat alert sound on the student device. So for teaching classes that are in front of you, most often you would want to disable this. And for remote teaching, when students are at home, it can be handy to have that on just to have one more way to draw attention to a chat that you start with a student. And the options that you set here are remembered between sessions. So if you commonly use the same set of options here, you're not going to have to enter these each time. You can still get class started very quickly. Just verify that the length is correct and hit the start button. Securely Classroom also has the option of allowing you to schedule your classes to start automatically on a schedule. And this is available from the class itself under the Classes menu on the Class Details tab. So this class has the checkbox to enable it. I can choose which days of the week, choose my start time, and the length of class session, and these are the same options that we just saw when starting a class manually. So this allows you to choose the most common ones you would use for that class, and each time it starts automatically, these will be enforced. On days where you may have an unusual schedule and you don't want your classes to start automatically, you can come in here and remove the check mark and then save those class details.